Let's take a look at some late round sleepers in the outfield. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Wednesday, February 12th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, taking a look at some late round sleepers in the outfield going outside the top 200 picks. Chris, we'll start with you.
I'm going to start with Byron Buxton because I want to make a point here that when we're talking about these guys outside of the top 200, your late round flyers, your potential bench pieces, I don't care about how it could go wrong for them. I want to focus on what it looks like when it goes right. And I think Byron Buxton's a good point for that because, yes, we're all aware that he cannot stay healthy. The 102 games he played last season were the most he's played in a season since 2017. Byron Buxton is not going to play 150 games. And unless you play in a league with no IL spots, you shouldn't really care because he's going 230th, 240th in most drafts. And when he's on the field, Byron Buxton's an absolute must-start player. Like, he has averaged 85 games per season over the past 4. He has 21 homers per season. You don't have, that's not pacing it out. You give him a full season pace, it's a 39 homer pace. So we know that when Byron Buxton is available, he's in your lineup and he's making a difference. He's going to hit a bunch of homers. He's going to steal bases. Might hit 279 again like he did last year. And then when he gets hurt, inevitably, he goes in an IL spot and it's fine. You still get points. You still get production when he's on the IL. I think people forget that when a player goes on the IL, you can just replace them. And in a 12-team league especially, replacement level is going to be pretty high. So Byron Buxton is someone who, at that point in the draft, you don't get a lot of sure things. He's a sure thing starter when he's on the field.
The ADP for Buxton, 251 as the 61st outfielder off the board. It was still an 859 OPS last year, still hit the ball really hard. And I think if you play in a daily lineup league, that might be the most optimal format to get Byron Buxton in because whenever he's in the lineup, boom, you just throw him in and you get pretty good production there. For me, I'm going to take a look at Parker Meadows, who has an ADP just outside the top 200. He is the younger brother of former standout Austin Meadows. And, he had some late round buzz last offseason after getting called up in 2023. He struggled early on last season, got sent back to the minors where he crushed it at AAA, got called back up in July. He played 2 games before hurting his hamstring, went on the IL, finally returned in August, and he played well. Final 47 games for Parker Meadows, 296 batting average, 6 homers, 5 steals, 840 OPS, and was leading off against right-handed pitching from mid-August on. That carried over into the postseason. If you look at his left-right splits, he's actually been slightly better against lefties than righties in his career. So I think there's just a chance Parker Meadows is the everyday leadoff hitter for the Detroit Tigers this upcoming season and will give you 15 to 20 home runs, 25 to 30 steals, to hit 250, 260, get on base. And that's a pretty valuable skill set for someone going outside the top 200. So definitely looking at Parker Meadows there. Chris, back over to you for another sleeper in the outfield.
One of the things I like to do every preseason is write a story called like name brands versus generics. And I just basically try to find similar projections, similar expected production from players who are going much cheaper than guys higher in the draft. And one of my favorites this year, they play different positions, but it's Victor Robles versus Xavier Edwards because Xavier Edwards is going like 130th in a lot of drafts in your roto leagues. Victor Robles is outside the top 200 in ADP, and the cases for them are very similar. We have basically a half a season of really high level production from both of them, basically out of nowhere. Robles is the more experienced player. We have a much longer track record of him not being a very good player at the major league level. It kind of feels like holding that against him is holding it against him that he was good enough to get to the majors, while Xavier Edwards was stuck in AA and AAA when he was 22 and 23. They're about 2 years apart in age. Not a huge difference there, 25 versus 27. And the underlying stats arguably better for Victor Robles. He hit 307 last season, 328 once he got to Seattle, stole 30 bases in 77 games. Underlying data doesn't quite back it up, but a 260 average, 30 plus steals, by far the best quality of contact of his career. he was an above average hitter when he got to Seattle. And I think Victor Robles isn't getting credit for that. So I think he is a very, very good steal specialist who might not necessarily just be a stolen base specialist outside the top 200.
Yeah, the ADP for Robles, 219.8 as the 56th outfielder off the board. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back into FBT Express. We're giving out some late round sleepers in the outfield. Next up for me is going to be a post-hype sleeper, Jordan Walker. I think the Cardinals just need to commit to Jordan Walker, let him play every day. Let's see what the kid can do. And for the most part, I think the Cardinals are ready to do that. They're kind of half in, half out right now, but they have some young guys, Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott. I think they're just going to let these guys play, and they should, because Jordan Walker, we've waited years now. He was a top prospect. He got called up late last season. He did some nice things in September, hit 253, 5 home runs, 16 RBI, a 780 OPS. And there were some quotes this offseason where Jordan Walker is looking to get back to a swing that he used in the minors when he was coming up and hitting for all this power. And so that gives us some optimism. There's a tangible change, something that Walker is trying to do differently to get himself back on track and to hit for power. So I don't know that it's a very high chance, high likeliness that this will come through for Jordan Walker, but a former top prospect going outside the top 300 picks. I'll take that bet there. Chris, back over to you for another sleeper in the outfield.
Let's go with an old guy. Let's go with the only guy in the Los Angeles Dodgers who's not being hyped like crazy, Michael Conforto. And he's been a fairly irrelevant fantasy option basically since 2020. So I understand the skepticism around Michael Conforto, but the thing you have to keep in mind is, one, when he was in New York, Citi Field's a very tough place to hit. And then he had a shoulder injury, and then he spent 2 years with the Giants, which is one of the toughest places for a left-handed power hitter in the entire game. It had the third worst park factors over the past 3 seasons. Dodger Stadium has the 6th best for left-handed power hitters. And so I just think this is an opportunity for a guy who still put up very good quality of contact metrics last season, 350 expected WOBA, only a 327 mark. I think San Francisco explains a lot of that. Of his 20 homers, only 3 came at home. Again, San Francisco is a really tough place. There's a chance that this is this year's Teoscar Hernandez, and Michael Conforto hits 260, 270 with 25 plus homers. Even low in that lineup, 80 RBI isn't out of the realm of possibility. I think he could have a really, really big season. I think the Dodgers are smart to have identified him as someone who could really, really take a big step forward.
Yeah, and I just think the ADP started so low for Michael Conforto early in the offseason that there hasn't been enough of a rise. Like, there has been a rise, but there hasn't been enough. Michael Conforto.
It's 277 since January 1st. It's super low.
Even since February 1st at the NFBC, 274 for Michael Conforto. So 5 outfielder leagues, you can get him later on. 250.
Get him as your 5th outfielder.
25 home runs in that Dodgers lineup. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on Michael Conforto as a late round sleeper this season. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.